Well, good morning, everybody. It's my job to talk a little bit about the year 2017, which will be the year of history, heritage, and archaeology. And surely, of all of these themed years, this will be the year which Edinburgh has its biggest opportunity to shine. If I was to tell you that Edinburgh had a reputation built on the fact that it's a historic city, you would all say, well, of course, we know that. But perhaps that's something that we also take a little bit for granted. Edinburgh actually has two very significant things. First of all, it has a sheer quantity and quality of built heritage, which puts it in a league far above many other places that would consider themselves to be historic cities or towns. And that has been recognized by UNESCO. So it has also World Heritage status. Now, these are two very significant things for the city. We heard a little bit just earlier on about competitors. We heard about Manchester and Dubai. They are not World Heritage sites, and they probably never will be. World Heritage status is an internationally recognized brand that will mean something to people, be they in Brazil, India, or China. It is incredibly important for the city. And here's a nice shot of the World Heritage Site, a nice aerial view. And the World Heritage Site is the old and the new towns together. So the medieval old town in juxtaposition, in direct contrast with the Georgian new town right next to it. That is the crucial thing that puts Edinburgh on the World Heritage list. So if you think about it, many places in Europe, what would happen is that their old town would be built over, be flattened. New buildings would be put up in their place. Edinburgh didn't do that. The new town was built immediately next door, creating this really interesting split personality and contrast in the city. That's the crucial part of the city's character. The other important thing is that as you look at that photograph there, you can see the circuses, Murray Place, and the terraces there, and Edinburgh Castle as well, up on its rock. Within that site there, over 75% of all of the buildings are listed. So in total, that's about 4,500 listed buildings. That means, of course, that coming to Edinburgh city centre is a completely unique experience. You have sheer quantity and quality of built heritage that most places simply cannot compete with. What that also means, of course, is that we have a little bit more than just a castle and a cobbled street. As I say, we have 4,500 listed buildings. We have lots of setted streets as well throughout the site. And what that means is that we shouldn't just think about the city's heritage in terms of its individual attractions. The castle is incredibly important and attracts many visitors through the year. So does the Palace of Holyrood House and Real Mary King's Close, the Georgian House. All of these places are well known. But if you think about just that extent of built heritage, what it means is that perhaps less obvious buildings are also part of that picture. Shops, restaurants, cafes, and hotels. All of these places also have a story to tell about the city's history. And that, of course, is a crucial thing for people to realize. This 2017 year of history and heritage will be applicable for everybody that's in this room. And it's those stories, that little taster of the city's history, that's why visitors are coming to Edinburgh. These here are figures from the last Edinburgh Visitors Survey, and they're quite striking, I think. 68% of people coming to the city say that they are drawn primarily by the fact that it is a historic city. And then just look at what people like to do when they're visiting here. 93% of people, their favourite activity is simply walking around the streets, soaking in a little of the historic atmosphere that you can experience. So this really underlines, I think, the importance of heritage and history to the city's tourism industry. It is the absolute bedrock of drawing people here. So hopefully that's inspired you, and you've seen that you have something to contribute to this year. And if you want to take the first tentative steps, the thing I would recommend is to take a look at the ETAG Business Opportunities Guide, and there's copies of that available just outside in the hall. What this is designed to do is just to outline a few ideas and suggestions of how you could get involved, how you could use history and heritage of the city in your own promotion and marketing. It also gives some case studies as well, so some interesting ideas where you can see how people, tourism businesses throughout the city, have put these ideas into action. So that's available outside. The other thing which is also available just outside is me. We encourage you. We would be delighted to have a conversation with anybody here about how you would like to get involved in 2017. We're here to help, and we're here to help with ideas and suggestions of how you could get involved. And I'd just like to give you a couple of examples now of the sorts of things that we've done with tourism businesses in the city. We worked with the Crown Plaza Hotel, which is up on Royal Terrace, and we did for them a history of their building, a kind of a biography, a story of the people that have lived in it and the architecture that it has. And this is a very significant building. The architect here is William Playfair, probably one of the most famous architects that the country has ever produced. He's the architect for the National Galleries, for the Royal Scottish Academy, for the National Monument up on Colton Hill. And he's also the architect here. And what we were in our researches, we found out all of the history of the different people who had lived in this building. Once these were very grand townhouses. And in one of these, a chap called John Crabby, who was a wine and whiskey merchant, had his home. He had his home there because he could see his ships coming into the Forth, so he could be reassured that his goods were arriving home safely. But if that name is a bit familiar to you, well, it should be. Crabby is one of those great Edinburgh names. Crabby's ginger wine, which is still produced today. So all part of the city's history, and reinforcing for the visitors here how they can experience a little bit of that history as they visit the hotel. We've also worked with the Canongate and Holyrood Initiative. And what we've done for them is produce a trail map. And this gives you an idea of the sorts of things that we've found. It highlights, of course, the different venues that are part of the initiative. The Scottish Parliament, Palace of Holyrood House, Scottish Poetry Library. But equally, what we've done is to highlight the little hidden gems that lie just around the corner from these places. And the Canongate is full of these. Places like Bakehouse Close, which is perhaps the best preserved old town close, really unchanged since the 17th century. Dunbar's Close as well, which is a great little green oasis right in the middle of the old town. And it also highlights the stories associated with the area. I think my particular favourite from this was the story of a particular Canongate butcher, a man called John Lawson Johnston, who invented, in fact, Bovril. So another one we could add to our year of food and drink, Edinburgh's additional thing for that year. So what this does is it builds an idea of the character and the distinctiveness of this area. Building, yes, on the venues that you can go and see, but also the free things, the built heritage and the stories associated with that which is next door. Building this up as a proper destination for the city. So these are just some examples of how people have been using built heritage, and I think we could build on them for 2017. But I just want to leave you with one particular thought, because 2017 is going to be special for Edinburgh for another very good reason. It will mark the 250th anniversary of the New Town Plan. Now, this is an absolutely crucial part of Edinburgh's history. This is the plan that took Edinburgh from being a dark, dingy, and overcrowded old Reekie into being the classically inspired Athens of the North. This is absolutely crucial part in telling the city's story. This plan, developed by the leading Enlightenment thinkers of the day, really put Edinburgh on the map. This marks the time when the world's eyes started to focus on the city. So surely then, it would be quite appropriate if in 2017, sort of another 250 years later, this could again provide the inspiration to focus the eyes of the world on Edinburgh once again. Thank you.